Hello, people. Let's start with this. So much interesting stuff going on at the moment, but I've just chosen some big stuff. So to represent the United States big stuff, I've chopped this from Fred, just going back to 1992, where the two strands were just about holding together. The United States federal government receipts, you can imagine which one that one is, and the federal government current expenditures, that's the other one. Yeah. You can see from 92 to the end of Clinton's computer boom, the strands were just about holding together, and receipts actually got on top of expenditures for a little while. But then from computer crash through 9/11, through two wars, etc., the blue line was kind of never quite wrapping itself around the red one. And then 2007-8 came and the whole thing's flown apart. And you can see now that the receipts have just about got back to where they were in 2007. But the outlays, the expenditures, has just gone up and up and up. Now, the funny thing is that has scared the crap out of the markets. So the markets, being so scared, are buying huge quantities of bonds to fill that gap. It's really quite odd. The word unsustainable comes to mind, but actually why that's unsustainable, well, nobody really knows. But it's just everyone gets the feeling that can't go on forever and ever. And it can't, surely. Something's going to break down somewhere. But exactly what and where and why is extremely hard to judge. Right, let's go over to the United Kingdom. I forget who they were. NIESR, or their name anyway. I've put together this chart, and these are recessions of the 20th century, because we're going back to the 1930-34, 1973 to 76, 1979 to 83, and 1990 to 93. The biggest, and group recessions, double dip recessions like the 81-83 recession. They've put them together, which is the sensible way of doing it. This chart is presented a little like the Joker chart, and it's the drop from the initial point. And you can see all the other recessions, including the 34 recession, are back to past their starting mark by now, which these are months from the start of the recession. 4/12s are 48, 5/12s are 60, getting it on for 5 years afterwards. They'd all got out back up to where they came from after 4 years, and getting on for 5 years, and we're still well short in the United Kingdom there. They've already had their double-a-dipper recession. They're 3 quarters into their double-a-dip. Quarter 3 of this year is probably going to go positive, so they'll be out of their double-dip. Quarter 4 might be positive as well, nobody knows, but I'm going to predict, just for the fun of predicting, that quarter 1 and 2 of 2013 will be negative again, putting the United Kingdom back into a recession, and that will be a triple-a-dipper. Okay, you heard it here first. A triple-a-dipper. Okay, the United Kingdom. Unemployment, like the United States, seems to be doing well, and I'm losing hair over it. Don't know why. The best we've come up with so far is that companies are sacking one expensive person and employing 2 cheap, ignorant ones. But it doesn't make sense, but otherwise I can't make any sense of it still. But I'm still looking into it. All right. Netherlands, Holland, house prices dropped the most on record last month. I was going to read the whole lot, but you can get the thing. What I'm getting at here is France is edging horribly in the wrong direction. It's not flying towards the periphery, but it's just edging that way. but life would be an awful lot easier in the economic sphere if France was edging towards the core, but it's edging horribly in the wrong direction. And another part of the core, the Netherlands, its house prices are quite frankly ridiculous, and it seems to be when there's it's a bit Darwinian. You can get a wedge into an economy that seems solid via the housing market. That seems to be always a soft spot into the economy, and it looks like the Netherlands is a wedge is getting into the housing market there. And when the wedge starts going in, it seems to go in and then really force things apart. And we really don't want the Netherlands in the core going down as well, or not going down, but edging towards having problems. This is big news, so I'll finish on it because it's from the IMF's latest report. Now, in this particular presentation, they're talking about the OBR, the Office of Budget Responsibility, which is the British outfit. But lots of countries around the world are basing their austerity measures on a multiplier effect given out by the IMF in 2009. I'll read it and see if we can make sense of it. The primary source for the OBR when estimating the size of the multiplier was a 2009 staff study by the IMF. The IMF has now revised its view and argued that rather than being 0.5, the multiplier at present is actually between 0.9 and 1.7, somewhere between twice and 3.5 times as big. The question now is, will the OBR, following the course set by the IMF, reassess its own use of multipliers and revise its view of the impact of the spending cuts and tax rises? That's the Office of Budget Responsibility looking at the Chancellor of the Exchequer in the UK's plans for the future, which has been just stretched out from 5 years of austerity to 8 years of austerity. But that is planned on a austerity multiplier of 0.5, as in if this case the United Kingdom, so it's taking £1 out of the economy, the government spends £1 less, but this is being used around the world, so it could be $1 or €1. So the Treasurer takes £1 out of the government expenditure. The IMF initially in 2009 said that would have a 50p, half a pound effect on GDP, on the economy in general. So you take £1 out and it only affects the economy by half a pound. But now the IMF is saying it'll affect the economy by a minimum of 9/10 of a pound, or somewhere between 9/10 of a pound and up to 1.7 pounds. In other words, your austerity that you take out is going to probably be around 1.5 times the amount that you take out, not half as much. And that is going to ruin an awful lot of austerity ideas that people that thought that austerity would be a good idea put in place, because they thought, well, it's only going to drop this much, but obviously they have the ideas of gains on this side, so we only have to gain this much. But now they're realizing, they're not realizing, they probably thought that was a wonderful thing that the IMF said, this only 0.5 multiplier, and they've used it as an excuse, but that excuse has been taken away. But will they use the new IMF numbers? But basically what it's saying is, and it's perfectly logical, you take spending of one out of the economy, that one that was going to one person to spend one is not going to spend it in the corner store, who's not going to. They have their multiplier effect that they think is more than one when there is stimulus spending, and to say that austerity spending was half always seemed ridiculous, and now they've kind of admitted it, but will the actual governments that are doing austerity admit it? But you see what I mean? It's a big knock to the credibility of austerity. But if they don't do the austerity, those from the US expenditures and receipts are just going to pull up further and further apart and look more and more unsustainable and make the market even more and more squitty. And the market just can't go on running itself from the toilet. That's it. It's a big problem. It really is. Bye.